Hi there. This is Dr. John Whitcomb talking about autism as a fixable disease. This is part 3. That autism is a disease of microglial activation and demyelination of your axons in your brain. Last week we learned that in autism, too many electrons escape the electron transport chain in mitochondria. Brain cells have 5,000 mitochondria, some of the highest in our whole body. Some of those electrons escape and make reactive oxygen species. Now those are damaging, and so we have an enzyme in our brains called superoxide dismutase that rapidly turns it to peroxide. Quickly, at least that solves the local immediate problem, and it spits the peroxide out into the cell water. Peroxide itself is a problem, and we have all sorts of things to help reduce that. Well, catalase is an inducible superoxide dismutase is an inducible enzyme, so you can measure that superoxide SOD is elevated in autistic kids. Well, then there's an enzyme called catalase that's meant to gobble up that peroxide, and it does, and it gets used up. And you can measure reduced catalase in autistic kids. So that after that, next follow-up plan is glutathione. Glutathione also gobbles up peroxide. Autistic kids have very low levels of glutathione, and that can be measured. And you're finally left with a hydroxide ion, OH negative, and that's terribly damaging. And that damages double bonds, particularly in the cis formation, particularly in plasmalogens, which make up 70% of the lipid wrapping in myelin. So they damage the myelin sheath. And sure enough, plasmalogens gobble up the OH. The problem is you lose a whole molecule of plasmalogen, which means the myelin sheath is starting to be damaged. And you make a chemical called malondialdehyde. Unfortunately, that's the problem. Malondialdehyde is a potent stimulator of microglia. Well, what are microglia? They're the macrophages of your brain, the garbage trucks of your brain. Their job is to clean up a mess. If you have a viral infection and damage some cells, they're meant to attack the cell with viruses in it and kill it and save the rest of the brain. And so they're meant to try attacking cancers or attacking all sorts of things. Their job is to clean up trouble. The problem is you didn't want this trouble. It wasn't really trouble. It just simply got set up by too many electrons escaping way upstream. And microglia become activated, and they continue to attack the cells that have been demyelinated already, and they then start gobbling up that cell and injuring it. And there is a model that makes experimental autism with a chemical called cuprizone. And you can actually show the exact same process happens in autism as happens in cuprizone. And you can show that the cells are overwhelmed. The microglia go on to flood the cell with glutamate. And glutamate is sort of a toxin. Too much glutamate, it's a neurotoxin, and it damages the cell, and it particularly damages the whole methylation system. And it shuts the methylation system down, which means the neuron can't pump transmitters, it can't make transmitters, and the cell starves to death. That's the mechanism by which you can measure that autistic kids are in trouble. And you can show that they have elevated homocysteine and that they've got damage to their methylation system. Well, we can help repair the methylation. There's supplements that'll help that. Betaine gives you methyl groups. B12 and folate, B6 all help improve your methylation system. We can give NAC, it's a glutathione stimulator. So there's lots we can do to help repair it. But the real key comes in how do you stop the methylation process? And we haven't had that to date because all the rest of our repair issues fail short of that repair process. And that's where Diane Goodnow has been a genius. He has invented and discovered how to make a plasmalogen template that goes preferably to neurons in your brain and helps remyelinate your brain. And it happens quickly in a dose-dependent fashion. We're going to go over the whole protocol next week, but the possibility of fixing and repairing autism is in front of us. Did you know that ADHD is probably autism in an older kid that doesn't quite fail and fall into the complete dysfunction of autism, but is sort of on the path? This may all apply to ADHD too. So this concept of brain health is hugely significant. So many children in society have ADHD, and too many have autism. We need to clean them both up. This is terribly exciting. I can't wait till I see Diane Goodenow getting a Nobel Prize in medicine, because that's what he deserves. We are going to fix autism. Dr. Whitcomb for News and Nutrition.